please do not forget to hit the like button, and if you are new to the channel, do not forget to subscribe. People, we need your support. And my whiteboard, my favorite whiteboard, which I do not know how to operate much. In fact, I wouldn't need this much. So Benjamin Netanyahu, the PM of Israel. Now, he was, he studied in the USA, United States of America. From there, and he was a brilliant student, by the way. The courses that, the course that people usually complete in a span of 4 years, he took 2.5 years. In fact, he took 2 courses simultaneously during he was a brilliant academic when it comes to this. But he was a Jew, owing to which, when the Israel was formed, he moved along with his brother. He had a brother as well. So both the brothers moved to Israel to serve their country as army men. So they joined the defense forces of Israel, wherein they were moving up the ranks. But let's in fact utilize Google today, in fact, of my not so favorite blackboard. So let's see. So now, after coming to Israel, there it is, Benjamin Bibi Netanyahu. Let's see about him as to what his history pertains to. Now, he came back to Israel and also joined the defense forces, participated in a lot of operations, and so did his brother. Now, there was one operation, people. Now, one incident happened in Israel, that one of their aircrafts was actually hijacked by let's see, it is, so here we are, these are the details about him. And he was born in Jerusalem and for a time in Philadelphia, and he was brought up in both Jerusalem and Philadelphia in United States. And he came back in 1967 to join the Israel Defense Forces. He became a team leader in the Sayeret Matkal Special Forces and took part in several missions, achieving the rank of the captain. Also, so while this plane was hijacked by the Palestine groups or groups or the terrorist groups like Hamas, so the plane was hijacked and taken to Uganda. People, can you believe this? Now, thousands of miles away from Israel, and around 106 people were held captive. They were all Israelis. Others were, they were given a free scot. They were let go. So they were left. They were released. In fact, only the Israeli citizens were held hostages. Now there was a challenge for the Israeli government as to what should be done. So there was a mission Thunderbolt, that was launched, and the Israeli forces actually went thousands of miles to Uganda and they conducted an operation. Now this hijack was also supported by, the terrorists were welcomed by the government of Uganda. They also gave protection to these terrorists, and they gave around 100 soldiers to guard this flight or this aeroplane, so to say, which had passengers in it. So it was not only the terrorists of Palestine, but also the government of Uganda that was supporting this particular hijack. Now 100 commandos from the defense forces of Israel were assigned this mission. Mossad, their intelligence agency, played a vital role in getting the information or the intel necessary for the mission. So 100 soldiers prepared, they went there, they took on the defense forces of an entire nation along with the terrorists, and they actually got back all the hostages, barring one who was in hospital. Later on, she was killed. And there was one casualty, 5 injuries in this mission Thunderbolt. It is one of the most acclaimed missions, and I'll also tell you why it is most acclaimed. So there was only one casualty, and that one casualty, people, do you know who it was? It was Prime Minister's very own brother. So that is what, and now you can imagine how it would feel, two brothers in defense forces, both of them in special forces, one of them was commando as well, and he gets killed. Now, will he have any mercy when it comes to choking the entire audience, choking the terrorists or the civilians also? Will he step back after being through, although I'm sure, being the Prime Minister of a country, he will be a well-balanced man, but then he's also a human being. Somebody whose brother has been brutally killed by the terrorists, and will he have mercy on these terrorists? Personally, he will never have. If I would have been at his place, I would not have spared even a single terrorist out there. So, mission, oh, did I miss something? All right. Thunderstorm, Thunderbolt, I think, yeah, it was not Thunderstorm, it was Mission Thunderbolt, my apologies. So it was Mission Thunderbolt, Entebbe raid, yeah, that's the one. Alright, it was codenamed as Operation Thunderbolt. It was a 1976 Israel counter-terrorist mission in Uganda. It was launched in response to Palestine-led hijacking of an international civilian passenger flight, Airbus A300, operated by Air France between the cities of Tel Aviv and Paris. Having hijacked the flight of 248 passengers on 27 June 1976, the militants took hostage with the stated objective of compelling the release of 40 Palestinian militants imprisoned in Israel. Now, something similar happened with India also. Very similar incident happened with India. This was a common tactic that was being used, and it happened as recent as 1999, wherein an Indian aircraft was taken and in fact hijacked, and it was taken to, if I'm not wrong, Kandahar. So it was made to land in Kandahar, and the Kandahar was then ruled by Taliban, the present government in Afghanistan, and it had support from Pakistan. So there were two countries involved in this hijack. But what did India do? Did India conduct a special operation? No. India could not conduct an operation like this. Now what happened? We will go through this first, and then let's do a comparison analysis as to how challenging this operation was and how well executed it was by the forces of Israel. So after moving all the hostages to a defunct airport, the hijackers separated all Israelis and several non-Israeli Jews from the larger group of passengers, subsequently moving them to a separate room. Over the next 2 days, 148 non-Israeli hostages were released and flown to Paris. The 94 remaining passengers, most of whom were Israelis, and the 12 members of Air France crew continued to be held as hostages. Representatives within the Israeli government initially debated over whether to concede or respond by force. So there was a debate whether we should release those 40 terrorists or should we use force. And that's when Mossad comes into picture, and they came up with the intel that we do have the intel and we can actually conduct a military operation and we can get back our hostages. Now, acting to the intelligence provided by Mossad, the decision was made to have the Israeli military undertake the rescue operation. The Israeli plans included preparation of an armed confrontation with Amin's Uganda army. So 100 soldiers, 100 commandos actually took on Uganda's army, people out there, the whole country. Initiating the operation at nightfall on 4th of July 1976. By the way, 4th of July also marks the Independence Day for the United States of America, and it was also the Independence Day for those hostages. Israeli transport planes flew 100 commandos over 4,000 kilometers to Uganda for the rescue effort. Over the course of 90 minutes, 102 of the hostages were rescued successfully. Now, imagine only 90 minutes. It took them 1.5 hours to take down the army of an entire country along with the militants. So that is how well planned this Operation Thunderbolt was. Now, moving on. 102 hostages were rescued successfully, with 3 having been killed. One of the dead hostages, Dora Bolsh, had been murdered by Ugandan authorities at a hospital in Kampala shortly after the Israeli rescue operation. She had fallen ill during the hijacking and was removed from the plane for treatment prior to commandos' arrival. The Israeli military suffered 5 wounded and 1 killed. Who was that one man killed? It was none other than Yonatan Netanyahu, and he was the Israel's sole fatality of Operation Entebbe and had led Sariyat Matkal during the rescue effort. He was leading. He was the elder brother of Benjamin Netanyahu, who would later become Israel's prime minister. The Israeli commandos killed all of the hijackers and 45 Ugandan soldiers. 11 of Uganda's MiG-17s and MiG-21s were destroyed. They destroyed MiG-17s. 11 fighter jets were destroyed within 90 minutes. So imagine how powerful this operation would have been. Any Bollywood movie that we see today, this was much more. It lasts for 3 hours or 2.5 hours. Within 90 minutes, they did this devastation. So that is the potential of Israeli army, of Israeli commandos. And let's see what about the Kandahar hijack. On the other hand, what did India do? Although we understand India has the potential, India could have carried out such an operation, but the circumstances were very different. We have raw, and the reports or the news or the intelligence that was shared by raw did not support a military action in Kandahar. That is the reason India did not take that operation. Okay. Now Kandahar hijack. Oh, there is a movie also called Kandahar based on this hijack. So let's see what Wikipedia. Flight 814 people of Indian Airlines, that was flying from Kathmandu, Nepal to IGI, that's Indira Gandhi International Airport in New Delhi. That was taken hostage. The aircraft was piloted by 37-year-old Captain Devi Sharan and First Officer Rajendra Kumar. And what happened is, shortly after it entered Indian airspace at about 5:30 IST, the hijackers ordered the aircraft to be flown to a series of locations from Amritsar to Lahore, across Persian Gulf to Dubai. The hijackers finally forced the aircraft to land in Kandahar. The reason, because Kandahar was being ruled by Taliban. It was controlled by Taliban then. And hijacker released 27 of 176 passengers in Dubai, but fatally stabbed one and wounded several others. At that time, most of the Afghanistan, including Kandahar airport, where the hijacked plane landed, was under Taliban control. Taliban militiamen, fighters encircled the aircraft to prevent any Indian military intervention, which was found by current National Security Advisor Ajit Doval when they landed there. They also found two inter-service intelligence Pakistani officers were on the apron on, others soon joined them. So ISI was also there, and we also had the Talibanis protecting the plane. So what was the condition? And there was one lieutenant colonel and a major also from Pakistani army. Dowell said if the hijackers did not have ISI support, India could have resolved the crisis. What do you think? If today any incident like this happens, what would be India's stance? What would India do? Now this happened way back in 90s. In fact, let's see what happened. The motive of the hijacking was to secure release of Islamist terrorists. Now one of the names here will definitely ring the bell. And held in prison in India, fellow Hum members Ahmad Omar Saeed Sheikh and Masood Azhar. Now Masood Azhar is the name that rings the bell. He's one of the most wanted terrorists in India out here. And what did they do? India actually released these people. And what did these people do after being released? We will see to it. What was the repercussion of releasing these people? We released these people. I think how many hostages were there? Hijacker released 27. So nearly 150 people were still on board. So to save 150 people, what devastation did it cost India in long run? Now Jaish-e-Mohammed, founded by background was Harkatul Mujahideen had already perpetrated several attacks and kidnappings in order to secure release of their leaders imprisoned in India, including Masood Azhar, who had been arrested in 1994. So he was under arrest. These included the 1994 kidnappings of Western tourists in India by Ahmad Omar Sheikh, who was captured during the act and was released with Azhar during the hijacking and went to join the HUM splinter group Jaish-e-Mohammed, founded by Azhar in 2000. So he formed a group, Jaish-e-Mohammed. 1995 kidnappings of Western tourists in Kashmir by Al-Farhan, where most abductees were killed and one was beheaded. And Amjad Farooqi, who was involved in 1995 kidnapping, was also one of the perpetrators of the hijacking under the alias Mansoor Hasnain. In 1999, Sajjad Afghani, the founder of HUM, who had been arrested with Azhar, was killed during a jailbreak which directly led to his hijacking and whose body was one of the hijackers' initial demands. So they demanded the body of the terrorist as well. Now Al-Qaeda and Osama bin Laden had provided organizational support for the kidnapping in order to have their associate Azhar released. So Azhar Mahmood was directly related to Al-Qaeda. So that is what is the modus operandi of these terrorists. And what did they do after that? So what was the aftermath? Now Home Minister L.K. Advani had opposed exchanging of hostages for the release of hijackers, as this would affect the public opinion of the government, while External Affairs Minister Jaswant Singh advocated the negotiations with Taliban. So we negotiated with terrorists. Negotiations did not progress as Taliban officials initially refused to allow Indian special forces to attempt a covert operation and declined to allow their own special forces to do so as well. To prevent any military action, Taliban officials surrounded the aircraft with tanks, and on December 27, a Taliban official speaking to a local newspaper stated that hijackers should either leave Afghanistan or put down their weapons. India officials interrupted this statement as an understanding that Taliban officials would arrest the hijackers if they surrendered and began to negotiate with them concerning their demands. These demands included release of 36 prisoners, the body of HUM founder Sajjad Afghani, and $200 million, but was ultimately reduced during the negotiations to 3 prisoners: Maulana Masood Azhar, Ahmad Omar Sheikh, Saeed Sheikh, Mushtaq Ahmad Zagar. Now, after being released, what did they do? They had now Maulana Masood Azhar is alleged in 2001 Indian Parliament attack, 2008 Mumbai attacks, which led to the death of hundreds of people, along with 2019 Pulwama attack, wherein we lost 44 CRPF personnel. What about Ahmad Omar Saeed Sheikh, arrested in 2002 by Pakistan authorities for abduction and murder of Daniel Pearl? Sheikh, who had been imprisoned in connection with 1994 kidnappings of Western tourists in India, went on to murder Daniel Pearl and also allegedly played a significant role in planning of September 11 attacks in United States. Then we have Mushtaq Ahmad Zargar, now who played an active role since release in training Islamic militants in Pakistan administered Jammu and Kashmir. On December 30, RAW Chief A.S. Daulat communicated with J&K Chief Minister Farooq Abdullah to convince him to release 2 prisoners as demanded by hijackers. These prisoners were currently being held in Kashmir jails. Abdullah was opposed to releasing the prisoners, warning Daulat of the long-term consequences, but eventually agreed to the demands of the Indian government. Mushtaq Ahmad Zargar was released from Srinagar prison and flown with Sheikh and Azhar to Kandahar. By this time, the hostages had been allowed to deboard the plane by the hijackers, and the hijackers had also surrendered their weapons. So this is how they were released. So India, on one hand, we have Israel people. We just went through what Israel did 4,000 miles away from their country, what their forces did, and India negotiated and then later on paid a very heavy price, because these people actually perpetrated a lot of other crimes also. The aftermath would have that as well. So coming back to our news, in fact, what do we have?